You've been doing your visualization sessions, your affirmations, maybe even your meditation. And then you stand up, grab your keys and drive to work as the same person you were yesterday. That gap between the practice and the rest of your day is where your results are leaking. Because the 15 minutes you spend feeling wealthy, loved, or successful each morning get buried under 16 hours of feeling ordinary. And most people never notice the leak, which is why they blame the method instead of the application. Think about how you wash the dishes. Sounds absurd, right? But stay with this. When you're standing at the sink, hands in warm water, your mind is somewhere. It's replaying an argument from last week. It's rehearsing tomorrow's meeting. It's calculating whether you can afford that car repair. Your body is doing one thing. Your mind is living in a completely different world. And that world is almost always built from worry, frustration, or low-grade anxiety. You're already practicing a state during mundane activities. You just haven't chosen which one. Neville Goddard talked about this more than people realize. He described the feeling of the wish fulfilled as something you carry, not something you visit, a state you occupy. And the word occupy matters here because it implies duration. You live in a house. You don't visit it for 15 minutes and then sleep on the street. The feeling of already having what you want works the same way. The morning session plants the seed, but the soil is every waking hour after that. So, what does this actually look like in practice? You're folding laundry. Your hands are moving on autopilot. Instead of letting your mind drift into its usual script, bills, deadlines, that text you're waiting on, you gently shift into the feeling of someone whose wish has already materialized. You're folding laundry as a person who already has the relationship, the income, the health, the creative career. You don't need to visualize a scene. You don't need to repeat words. You just feel like that person. The subtle satisfaction, the quiet confidence, the absence of desperation. And the reason this works so much better than isolated sessions has everything to do with sheer volume. A dedicated practice might last 10, maybe 20 minutes. Your day contains roughly 1,000 minutes of waking consciousness. If only 20 of those minutes are spent in the desired state, what's dominating the other 980? The old state, the habitual one, the one that keeps producing the same results. The math is brutal. You're outnumbered 50-1 by your own default programming. But there's something even more interesting happening beneath the surface. During a formal session, eyes closed, lying down, focused, your mind knows it's doing an exercise. There's a subtle self-awareness that says, I'm practicing. A layer of performance. When you're brushing your teeth or walking through a parking lot and you shift into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that layer dissolves. The feeling blends into the activity so naturally that there's no gap between you and the state. You're simply someone going about their day while feeling a certain way. That seamlessness is where the real shift happens. Consider how moods already work in your life. When you're in love with someone new, you don't schedule 20 minutes to feel it. The feeling colors everything. You're smiling while pumping gas, you're humming while sorting emails. The mundane tasks haven't changed. Your inner state has, and it transformed every moment without effort. The wish fulfilled works on the same principle. When the feeling is genuine, it doesn't need a dedicated time slot. It leaks into the margins on its own. The problem is that most people treat the feeling like a performance they can only deliver on stage. They sit down, close their eyes, summon the emotion, hold it for as long as they can, and then, curtain drops. They stand up and immediately re-enter their habitual identity. The cashier at the grocery store sees the same person they always see. The co-worker gets the same energy. The mirror reflects the same expression. All that inner work evaporates the moment it meets the friction of daily life. Here's where it gets practical. You don't need to maintain a peak emotional state for 16 hours. That's exhausting and unsustainable. What you're aiming for is a background hum. Think about the difference between blasting music at full volume and having a song stuck in your head. The song stuck in your head is quieter, effortless, and persistent. It colors your afternoon without requiring concentration. That's the frequency you want. A low, steady signal running underneath everything you do. The grocery store becomes a training ground. You're pushing a cart down the cereal aisle, and instead of thinking about what you can afford, you feel the ease of someone who buys what they want without doing mental math. You're driving home from work, and instead of dreading tomorrow, you feel the satisfaction of someone whose days unfold in ways that excite them. You're making coffee in the morning, and instead of bracing for the day ahead, you feel the groundedness of someone whose life already reflects their deepest wants. Each of these micro moments costs you nothing. No extra time. No special setup. No app. No journal. No course. You're already standing in the shower. You're already waiting in line. You're already lying in bed for those 3 minutes before sleep. These are gaps in your day where your mind defaults to noise, and every single one of them is an opportunity to rehearse the state you want to live from permanently. Now, a fair objection: isn't this just delusion? Walking around feeling rich when your bank account says otherwise? The counterargument comes from research on cognitive priming and self-concept. Studies consistently show that people who hold a particular self-image act in ways that confirm it. Students who were primed to see themselves as academically capable performed measurably better on identical tests. The self-image came first. The behavior followed. The results confirmed the image. It's a loop, and the entry point is the feeling held consistently enough that it stops being an exercise and starts being an identity. The dedicated session has its place. That's not the argument here. The morning visualization, the bedtime scene, these are useful for clarity. They help you define the target. But the target doesn't get hit during the session. It gets hit during the hours that follow, when you're living and moving and interacting and choosing. Every moment of the day is casting a vote for who you are, and the state you occupy most frequently wins the election, regardless of what you practice behind closed eyes. There's a specific shift that happens when you start carrying the feeling into mundane tasks. The desperation fades. You know that clenching feeling, the one that says, "Is it working yet? When is it going to show up? What am I doing wrong?" That tension lives in the gap between the practice and the rest of your life. When the feeling fills the gap, the urgency dissolves, because you're already experiencing what you were chasing. The emotional destination arrived before the physical one. And paradoxically, that's usually when circumstances start rearranging themselves. Try this for 1 week. Pick a single mundane activity you do every day: washing dishes, commuting, showering, folding clothes. During that activity, and only that one, practice shifting into the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Don't force anything dramatic. Just let yourself feel the quiet version of it, the settled version. The way you'd feel if it had happened 6 months ago and the excitement had mellowed into simple, stable knowing. After a few days, you'll notice something. The feeling starts bleeding into adjacent activities. You didn't plan it. It just happens. The state you practice while folding towels shows up while you're making dinner. The ease you rehearsed in the shower follows you into a meeting. The signal gets stronger because you're no longer containing it to a 10-minute window. You gave it room to breathe, and it expanded on its own. Your formal practice sessions are the ignition. The mundane moments are the fuel. One without the other leaves you either inspired but unchanged, or going through motions without direction. The people who report sudden, dramatic shifts in their circumstances almost always describe the same thing when you press them for details. They stopped compartmentalizing the feeling. It moved from the meditation cushion into the kitchen, the commute, the waiting room. It became the background music of their entire day. The next time you're standing at the sink, hands in warm water, plates clinking, notice where your mind goes. That destination is your real practice. The formal session was just the rehearsal.